we did it.
Oh my gosh. Oh, hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. It's a little different this week.
Yes, it is.
I told people we're having technical difficulties.
Yes.
We're
We're Zooming instead of StreamYard.
We're Zooming. It's a long story, but we all know Mercury is in retrograde and anything can happen.
And it did.
And it did.
So anyway, welcome to If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts,
Wendy Stuart
and Tym Moss.
Oh my God. And also, Tim, we're flipped. Usually like,
I know.
Oh my God, we're flipped. I'm having a dyslexic moment
yes,
here.
Right.
I don't even know what to say. I'm all like flummoxed and discombobulated.
I can't look at us.
All right, don't even look at us. But you know what? Listen, this is something we talk about on the show all the time. You got to go with the flow.
Yeah.
There are things you
Absolutely.
can control and a whole bunch of things that you can't, and you got to make it work. And Tim and I are classic examples.
Yeah. She just cleaned up one of my messes a minute ago.
Right, Tim had a little spill, and I
spilled the tea literally.
Oh my God, what a metaphor. And Mama was mopping it up. Now we all know I've been made for better things. But Tim had to figure out how we were going to do this show today. So I mopped up the mess, ladies and gentlemen.
So I'm punching buttons, trying to figure out Zoom, and she's over here with the mop.
Punching and mopping. But you know what? But
we're here.
We're here. So I hope, you know what, I'm hoping the rest of my week goes smoother. I am working at the Black Bear Film Festival this weekend, which is great.
Yes,
Milford, Pennsylvania, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I am very excited about Friday night because the film that we are showing, Port Authority, about a young male runaway and a transgender woman, is going to be airing. This is kind of revolutionary for them to pick a film for that opening night. And I'm very excited. And I'm having the opportunity to interview that night Danielle Lesovitz. I hope I said her name right. I butcher names. We all know that. But the coolest thing, we could not get her there in person. So she's going to come up on a giant, you've done that, right?
Yes,
with a giant,
I love that.
The giant screen. I'm just going to be little Wendy with the audience. So we'll all be live and she'll be on the screen. And please
where she belongs.
I don't know, wish me luck, because all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh my God, I can just see
bring your mop.
Right. I should bring a mop because I can really see the
side.
era for this, right?
But I'm very excited too. Tonight, after this, I've been popping around, but
Tim's been
after I'm glad New York is opening and events are starting back up. But after this, I'm going to be attending an event, I think, with the new governor, and a lot of the LGBT community leaders.
I love
where
this.
I'm so excited.
Where is the event? Tell us about the event.
Well, it's an industry.
Okay, cool.
And I just to see all these friends and these people that I've known for years and worked with for years. We haven't seen each other since before the pandemic. So I'm really excited about this.
How totally fun. My gosh,
yes.
That's great.
And speaking of fun.
Speaking of totally fun, we're so exotic this week because, you know, usually we bring people live from their bedrooms to you or having coffee at their table. And sometimes we even bring them to you in person. Yeah. But today we are on a gorgeous location in Vermont. You're not going to believe it. You're going to be thinking, oh my God, what a green screen. But it's not.
Yes,
it's really Vermont. The trees are turning, the leaves are falling. And today's guest believes in building bridges of love and compassion between diverse communities through the power of music. Without further ado,
and one of the best souls that I know.
And I would have to agree, a completely heart as big as the world. Please welcome Reverend Yolanda.
Yes, it may take a moment here because with my technical difficulties for her to get in.
Oh my God.
I think we have her. We need to. There she is. Yay, we did it.
Oh my God, you're there.
Okay.
Hi. Gorgeous.
Well, this is my country girl look.
Well, it's really fabulous. It's totally working for you. We wouldn't want anything less with that gorgeous background.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, isn't this wonderful? I'm up here in Windham, Vermont, which is where I have, you know, my new property, and we just got our mobile home delivered. Yay!
Yay!
And I'm sitting up at the town hall, and the elementary school is right over here, and somebody's playing the guitar and singing with the kids.
Nice.
Is that a graveyard behind you?
This is a graveyard.
I love it.
Oh,
the town town graveyard.
Uh-huh.
It's really super old, like,
I was just gonna say, because
Yeah,
that part of the country.
like
Yeah.
1700s. Did you
Yes.
look at it? I love old graveyards, like
Yeah.
1700s, right?
Yeah. I took a long walk in there yesterday and it was just amazing, like the history.
Right. And the way they carved the stones in those days and wrote
Yeah.
the letters, and sometimes they had little drawings on them as well. They're really quite beautiful. Well, you're getting the award for the most exotic location.
Yeah.
Molly Mall, the rapper, did his interview in the back of a Rolls Royce. That was pretty exotic, and the sound was awful. So I really appreciate you coming to us with this gorgeous sound and a beautiful background. We are grateful to have you on our show today.
Thank you.
Goodness, we have got so much to cover with you,
Yeah, so
because you are just, I can't even, I don't even know how to describe you. How would you, well, first let's start with your, what is your identity? Let's start with that, your identity.
I try to fit everything into this one phrase. It goes like this. I'm trans, femme, genderqueer, singer, songwriter, and interfaith music minister. How's that go?
There we go.
It's
okay.
great.
And the interview's over. That's it.
Yeah,
folks.
that's all we need to know about you, because and you know what? You covered everything on that LGBTQ plus spectrum. Thank you, Yolanda, for bringing all those letters together. I often talk about those letters and we all know this, be polarizing.
Oh yeah.
But thank you. You have encompassed everybody, which is what you do when you perform. I had the pleasure of seeing you. It was a while ago, like 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while. I guess 2015, I think, is when.
Yeah.
So that was my Mac award winning show. Reverend Yolanda.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, it was really a great. I mean, I can't thank the Mac community enough. I mean, everybody rallied around it. So we had 2014 and 2015. 2014 was the first part of it. It was called Reverend Yolanda's Old Time Gospel Hour. And then in 2015, we did the second half of it, which I called Be the Love. So both of those won Mac Awards. And you were there, you and Alan were there doing photographs, and I remember Tim being in the audience, like,
I didn't know Tim then.
I know. I remember Tim, this was before you did your cabaret show, which absolutely brought me to tears. But I remember you coming up to me after my show and just really being so sweet, and I appreciate that,
Yeah. Well, actually, we've known each other for quite a while and have been through quite a lot together. Yeah.
How long have you known each other for?
Oh, probably what, 10, 12 years, 14?
More than that. I would say almost 20. I would say, I think, well, 2007, 2006.
Yeah, right in there, 2000. Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, so 15.
When did you start your first show? I've always wanted to ask you that. Oh my goodness. Your
first one ever?
Right. And who were you then when you did it? I want the 411 on all of that.
I'm gonna guess Tony in diapers in the crib was your first show.
Very close. Well, this is a good spot to plug my musical, because I just wrote a musical about this whole thing. And as I answer this question, I'm just going to share that the musical is called The Church of the Alien Love Child Presents The Passion of Reverend Yolanda. And so it actually covers, it's autobiographical, so it covers most of these events that I'm about to share with you. But we recorded a concept album EP, which Tim is singing on as my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Bobo.
You were the fourth grade teacher.
And I have the hair.
It's nice to remember all the people that you meet on the way up. Yes.
Exactly. And we will be premiering that EP with an online show on October 19th, 8 p.m. Facebook /Rev Yolanda, YouTube /Rev Yolanda. Okay, so that's the plug.
Perfect.
Okay.
And I hope everybody will join us. However, in answer to your question, my very first performance was at age 16 with a band called Amplified New Testament. I was a junior in high school, and I was living at a commune called the Jesus Manor.
Wow.
So wait, you were in high school and living in a commune. So does that, were you there yourself? Were your parents there? This is very interesting.
Well, my parents, okay, I was born in Alabama, and my dad always had this desire to move to Florida. So midway during my sophomore year, he decided that we were going to move to Florida. So my junior year, I had just turned 16, started in Florida.
Okay, I was going to say, so you moved to Florida with them.
Yes. And then I found this group of people, they were Jesus freaks, and they were, you know, really cool at the time and everything. And they had a commune. So I started going to the commune a lot and everything, and I joined this band called Amplified New Testament. Well, in the meantime, my dad lost his job and he decided to move back to Alabama. So my parents packed up and went back to Alabama, and I finished high school living at the Jesus Manor.
No, you know, at 16, that's unbelievably impressive, really.
Yeah. And
well, my parents were cool like that. They were also entertainers. Dad was a radio television broadcaster.
Yeah,
so
I
wanted to mention in Alabama where you grew up. You grew up in Muscle Shoals.
Yes.
So Muscle Shoals, tell me about Muscle Shoals. I don't know anything about it.
It's amazing.
Muscle Shoals is called the hit recording capital of the world, and it recorded basically all the major hits on the radio from about 64 or 5 until 74 or 5, 7, almost the 80s. That long stretch of hits there by everybody you can think of: the Rolling Stones, Cher, Aretha,
Dylan.
Bob Dylan, just about anybody that you can think of in that era. The Eagles, the Birds, you know.
For whatever reason, and it was a very small town, almost like a crossroads or something, right? With like 2 recording studios there. And they would come in from around the country to
and around the world.
Shoals.
But why what you're saying, it's little. Why there, do you think?
I don't
know.
Well,
it's a magical place in terms of artistic expression. W.C. Handy was born there, and Helen Keller was also born there. So she's a different kind of artistic expression. But it is full of artists and musicians. And there's just something about that area that cultivates and nourishes musical and artistic expression. So at the beginning of rock and roll, I was sort of alive for the beginning of rock and roll.
Wow.
You know, people coalesced in different places. One was Nashville, one was Muscle Shoals, you know, some in New Orleans, you know, different Memphis, you know, different places in the South. And Muscle Shoals was one of those places. Now, my dad went to high school with Sam Phillips, who discovered Elvis. So we had this connection to Colonel Parker and Elvis when I was growing up. So it was really quite a place. And it was a very small town. Everybody knew your business, and it was, you know, gossipy and all that kind of stuff.
What a family to grow up in, with both parents being entertainers in this creative community that I never heard of till now. That's why I do this show. I know I learned something. This is great.
And, you know, it wasn't all peachy. I mean, it was Alabama after all, and it was the 1956 and, you know, all the way through the 60s and 70s. So, and, you know, Alabama is still, you know, a little wonky politically and all that. But besides all of that, I grew up surrounded by a lot of love, but just misunderstanding. Like, people just did not know what to do with me. Including my parents, because I came out of the closet very, very early, and this was like nobody had ever, you know, heard of who I thought I was, you know. So
coming out that early, did you come out initially as gay or trans?
Well, I came out really because I didn't know what trans was,
Right.
you know.
Well, we didn't. None of us knew any of these things.
No, I
Really.
didn't have any words for it. So really what I came out as, and this is the song that Tim is singing, I came out as homosexual, and because I had read a Time magazine article about, it was called Homosexuality in America, and it had a big, red cover and all of this.
Oh
And
my
so
God.
and I read this Time magazine article. I took it to school for show and tell because we were still doing show and tell.
Love
Okay,
it.
how old were you when you took it to school? This is great.
Less than 10, I mean 10 or less, I get fuzzy in there. It was either fourth or fifth grade, but
Oh my
Mrs.
God, still, that is like, you were so ahead of your time. How did
So
everybody react to that?
well, it was awful, it was really terrible.
Well, I'm sure the kids, they probably didn't understand, just like you didn't understand all of it.
No.
And
I'm
No.
curious, did you, but when I asked, did you know you were trans? Many trans people I know, certainly male to female, completely identified female from way back. So I
Yeah.
guess that's what I'm
Mhm.
asking. Were you identifying female?
No, I'm
No.
trans femme gender queer. So
Okay.
that has taken me a really long time. I'm not
right.
a trans woman. Do you
No,
see-
Right.
I know
well,
that, right.
like
Yeah.
you said earlier, he covers all these
Yeah,
letters
everything. I
of
love
the
this.
LGBT community,
Right.
but you started with
homosexual.
the G. You started with the G,
right.
and then you added as you went along, and all these
Right.
incarnations, which I love your soul,
I
I love
do.
your spirit, because just like you said, you were saying about the church, that you will, even though it may not be popular or many people might not know about it, you follow your heart into it,
Right.
into a community, and you absorb what that community is teaching and
Yeah.
apply it to yourself until you have to move to the next community.
Yes, that's exactly right, Tim. Thank you
Mhm.
for that. That's exactly what it is.
I think
And
like
So you are
yeah.
so universal.
So you are I think to Tim's point, you
Yeah.
are universal. And as many people as I've interviewed on my other show, Triversity Talk, which is for the LGBTQ community, people struggle and have struggled where they all are. You are a role model for
Absolutely.
encompassing who you are, and it's brilliant. And
Oh.
every time you share this, you are lifting somebody up that
Mhm.
may be very much alone. And I want to tell you that.
You are what
Yeah.
I'm going to add to that.
Yeah,
You are a
thank you.
role model. You are a leader.
Yep.
You are a trailblazer, and you are a pioneer
Right.
in our community. Most
Thank you.
definitely.
Thank you
Mhm.
so much. That's incredible. Like
For
I
everything.
well, I've struggled like, everybody does really with their identity, because I couldn't understand, because I knew I was feminine and I knew I wasn't a boy, yet I was being raised as a boy, but I also knew that I wasn't a girl. So see, it was very confusing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now we talk about it as non-binary, but I'm so feminine that I say trans femme,
Yeah, no, I think that really defines it. Certainly of the generation now in their 20s,
Yeah.
not our generation, but the generation in
Yeah.
their 20s understand fluidity. They understand gender fluidity and
Mhm.
identify that way. They're very close to how you identify, whereas
Well,
our generation's different.
Right, but this is where you have evolved
Yeah,
to.
too, right.
Because
Exactly.
you have went through so many incarnations in
Yeah.
your evolution, and I would
Yes.
just kind of like to touch on those,
Yes.
because you have one of the most fascinating journeys of any human being I have met.
Yeah, I would say so. So, okay, we're 16. We're in the Jesus Gospel community, and we're 16 in the commune. Hallelujah. Where are we going from there? Take us on a trip.
Okay. Well, I was discovering my, sexuality and my attraction to men and this, that, and the other. And I had several, I fell in love with a boy in the band, and we're calling him Sandy in the musical.
Mhm.
But it was very tough, and that was certainly unrequited, and it was totally misunderstood, and I felt shamed and guilty and all that kind of stuff. And so I left the commune to go to college, and I decided to major in musical theater. Dun, 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 dun.
Not surprised there.
And so then I moved to New York City, and I moved to New York in 1983, right when the AIDS,
Yeah,
pandemic was at its, worst.
absolutely.
And New York was a very different place back then.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we didn't have all this language for queerness,
Right.
and so at that time I just, was trying to live as a gay male, and something about it just didn't feel right to me, but I didn't know what else to be, to call myself or be or anything. So I did my best to, fit in and be a part of the gay male community and all that kind of stuff. And I, had a lot of sex, and it was just like,
Well,
and
can I just ask you one thing, just rewinding a little bit back to the boy that you fell in love with in the band, because I can relate to that so much growing up in the Midwest, and the pain of that unrequited love, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would always feel, how can you not feel the love that I feel for you?
I know.
It's so confusing at that time, because we didn't have anyone to teach us any differently.
No.
And again, the feelings were so strong, but yet it wasn't received back.
Right.
And you
well,
had that a lot.
Yes.
Well, New York.
Yes, well, I'll speak to that point again about the boy I fell in love with, because this is also a very interesting story. He died of cancer. We reconnected on Facebook, maybe it's been about, I guess, 5 years ago.
Amazing, though.
I know. And he reached out to me because he wanted to tell me that he loved me. Not
full circle.
Yes, but not, not in a sexual way or anything.
Right.
He wanted to say that he was sorry for misunderstanding me and that he loved me. And then he knew he had cancer at the time, and very shortly after that he died. And it was so amazing to reestablish that connection and have that healing with him. And I'm just so grateful for that, So that was my first love.
Powerful.
Yeah. And so then, I moved to New York in 1983, and I was having sex out the wazoo. I'd never seen it.
Again, I can relate. We were parallel in that. Moved to New York, and anything goes, including my virginity.
Exactly.
But it was an interesting time, because I was in New York then, and my friends who are no longer here were the first ones that went in the first wave of AIDS. And I couldn't, once we started to know that you could get it by having sex, that became very scary to me, that people were having a lot of sex partners, even knowing that.
Yes, I know. I was ridiculous about it. And I did, contract HIV. So, I was diagnosed in 1997, with HIV, because I was just about, anyway, it was really bad. I was in really bad health. By that time, though, I had met the Radical Fairies, which you wanted to talk about.
It's in Vermont. Is that correct? Up where you're
correct, at? But I actually met the Radical Fairies in New York at a Pride event. And I was running around. There's pictures. I don't know if you remember seeing any of these pictures, Tim, but I was running around in the Pride Parade with a big 4-foot foam rubber dildo strapped to my waist, and tits, like big foam rubber tits. And I would run up and down the street, going, like that.
I'm a radical fairy.
People loved it. That's how I met the fairies. And then they told me, that there was a commune being formed in Vermont. And so I packed my bags. This was 1993. Wow. I said, okay, I'm there. I packed my bags and I moved up here to Vermont, and in Vermont is where I started living my life as Yolanda. That's when I really began to understand this trans part of myself,
How long a period of time was that helped you with this self-discovery?
Well, I would say from 1993 to 2001, because I moved back to New York in 2001. And by that time, I had already established myself as Yolanda. Everybody called me Yolanda, all that kind of thing. And I had a band and we were doing really, really well. And at that time in the early 2000s, CBGB's was still around, and we had this.
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had this event called HomoCore. So they kept inviting me to come play at HomoCore, and I would drive back and forth. And so finally, I just decided, why don't I move back and give it a shot? Well, this time, I'm in my late 30s by this time, you know what I mean? And I moved back. Actually, it was in my early 40s now that I think about it. And so I moved back to New York in my early 40s as Yolanda. And, all of this stuff has happened since 2001, so it's been quite a thing, quite a journey. Even with being in New York, the second time when I moved back in 2001, that journey was really up and down. So Tim met me because I was struggling. I was really struggling with my identity. In Vermont, it was very different. Everybody just took me as Yolanda. When I came,
and also they were so open and free about gender exploration, or they were just open to all of that, correct? And
yeah, that's correct. Like the Department of Health, one of the significant things that helped me understand myself as Yolanda, the Department of Health here in Vermont would go around and give talks and lectures and counseling at different places in Vermont about gender identity, right? Because in that time in Vermont, people were coming out of the woods, coming out of the closet. The radical fairies were really out loud and proud. We were all glittery and we'd run around town. And, so people were coming out here in Vermont. And there was a lot of questions about the trans experience. So I went to a lecture, and that's where I discovered for the first time that there was this spectrum, and right. That I was somewhere in the spectrum, So that really helped. And then I moved back to New York City, and one thing led to another. I had a bunch of successes early on with Hedda Lettuce. We did
I remember.
You did what? I'm sorry.
It was a show called Dixie Chicks with Dicks. And it was me and Hedda and Portia.
Oh yeah.
And boy, did we have fun. We had a great time.
It is great. Absolutely.
The three of you together, right? What a trifecta.
I would love to see that now. That would be great.
It was totally fun. We didn't even have video or any of it back then because we didn't have phones and all that stuff. But it was totally fun. Then it got me connected to a record company that recorded an album of ABBA songs, and that album was called Abbalicious. It featured all kinds of different kinds of New York drag queens, and I sang "Lay All Your Love on Me" as a slow blues ballad. And that was an amazing, wonderful album and a great experience. However, right after that, the company had to fold. So we lost all of my funding and my stipend and everything like that. And I kind of went into a tailspin. And at that time, I was still having a little bit of trouble with my HIV. It was coming back to me. I was having some health issues. So I went to a doctor who was a friend of mine's doctor because he looked so well. And the doctor started giving me testosterone. Well, that really blew my mind. It blew my system. It shoved me into this maleness that I didn't expect.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a male hormone.
That's when I met you.
And that's when I met him.
Yep.
Yeah. And at that time, I was really confused because so many things were happening to me. And emotionally, I was just totally confused. And I felt like, okay, maybe I should just try to be male. If I'm feeling so male, I didn't make the connection that it was.
Oh, yeah, it was the hormone. I mean, they're known for that. Wow.
So I went back into the closet, so to speak, and called myself Roger, which is one of my given names. Right. And that's when I met Tim. It's also when I met my husband, and we became very interested in spiritual matters. So we decided to go to seminary, and we went to One Spirit Interfaith Seminary. And during the seminary process is when I came back to Yolanda and I graduated as Reverend Yolanda.
When
So
evolution fulfilled.
yeah.
Yeah, I just
When you turned inward spiritually and
Yeah.
thought
And
that's
found
your
herself.
true being
Yeah.
came.
Tell
Yeah,
me,
no, I love that.
because I'm not familiar with seminary or what you went through, the length of time and the kinds of things that you discovered by being in seminary.
It was a wonderful experience. It's called One Spirit Interfaith Seminary. And so as a young child, I mean, I've always been interested in spiritual matters my whole life. I was always involved in the church and obviously the Jesus Manor and all that. But I didn't know that there were other ways to express your spirituality, you know, other than the traditional Christianity, which was, you know, what I grew up with. So even into adulthood, I didn't realize that you can think of everything as a spiritual path, whether you're religious or not, you know what I mean, or whether you belong to any particular faith. So my music is a spiritual path for me. My gender journey is a spiritual path for me. You know what I mean? But in seminary, we studied a lot of different traditional religions and some not so traditional. We also studied and looked at and had guest speakers and stuff from, you know, Wiccan and pagan different communities and Native American communities and
Wonderful experience. Oh my
I
gosh.
mean, what a wonderful education.
Yeah.
it was amazing. And so I really got an insight on what a spiritual path is. And for me, I describe it as I am a spiritual essence having a human experience. You know what I mean? So exactly.
Yeah.
So whatever your path is your spiritual path. You don't have to belong to anything or believe in anything or get saved or any of that kind of stuff, you know. It's just your focus and your attention on what you think is your calling, what is yours to do here in this lifetime, you know.
Which is what I call spiritual fluidity.
And there you go.
You have completely defined. I've spent a lot of time with indigenous people.
Yes.
All over the world and different beliefs. And that's what I've learned. That's why when people say to me, well, what's your religion? That is very hard for me to answer because I personally encompass, there's amazing things in the Jewish faith.
Right.
There's amazing things in the Yoruba culture.
Yes.
Okay. Amazing things in the Wicca culture.
Yes.
And I guess for me, it's just to take the best of everything.
Yes.
Yes.
And share it.
I agree. And taking the best of everything is how Reverend Yolanda has been created. So you are watching If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts, Wendy Stuart and Tim Moss, and our incredible and wonderful guest, my dear friend, Reverend Yolanda. And I want to take a quick listen to one of your songs, which is one of my all-time favorites. It's just such a beautiful, moving song called We Are All Angels. So let's take a listen to that by Reverend Yolanda.
Thank you.
Okay, so we begin it. Why do you feel so out of place? So out of touch with the human race? You don't seem to understand why your brother won't lend a helping hand. Why do people tear apart your tender heart? Why does the nighttime seem so dark when the light shines inside your heart? We are angels, and we're struggling to be human. You tell me of the things you feel. You push away, then you pull me near. You tell me of your fantasy. I love the way that you speak honestly. Don't you see yourself in me? Don't you see what we can be? We are angels. We are angels, and we're struggling to be human. We are angels. We are angels, and we're struggling to be human. Time heals all pain. That's the way of the world. Time will bring you round again. Ooh, that's the way of the world. We are angels. We are angels, and we're struggling to be human. We are angels. We are angels, and we're struggling to be human. We are angels. We are angels, and we're struggling to be human. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
So,
We were talking about spirituality.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about seminary.
and this is the person to talk to it about. Our wonderful guest, Reverend Yolanda. So with We Are All Angels, where did that come from? Did that come from like during the time of seminary or shortly thereafter?
Actually, I wrote it when I lived with the Radical Fairies at Fairy Camp Destiny.
Uh-huh.
And I was dating a guy who worked with developmentally disabled people,
Mhm.
and he called them angels, struggling to be human. That's what he called them.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh my God, that's such a beautiful
It is beautiful.
phrase, And so that's how the song, came about. And it's just, I don't know, it resonates with folks and does certainly with me. And it's just lasted all these years. I mean, so I wrote it basically in 1994, I think,
Wow.
somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize that you had written it then. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
early.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, yes, because that was on your CD when I first interviewed you as Roger, when you were Roger.
That's right. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I've re-recorded it many times, and it's also in the new EP that I'm releasing on October 19th. But there are different versions. So this new one is a beautiful choir version arranged by my producer Phil Carroll of Recording Arts Development, and it's stunning. It's really, I love that people gravitate to this song and reinvent it. I've had people email me, can I sing this song at my church? Can I sing this song at
Yeah.
Cool.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
so I have sheet music for it, it's on my website.
Good.
And it's just really resonated with folks throughout the years. I'm so happy about that.
Well, now you mentioned your website. Give your website.
Yay! Yolanda.net. You can find all information.
You can. Talking about all information, like I said to you before we started, you put the B in branding.
Yeah.
You were exploding in branding before anyone else got that as a buzzword.
Right. Exactly.
Just on your website alone, I mean, it is everything that you encompass. It's the singing, the performing. You're a reverend. You're even a therapist for people. You are a therapist for people. It's your diversity, and it comes out in every piece of art you touch. You're a painter. You have merchandise, and it is just unbelievable. Now, I want to talk about also your latest CD, Yolanda Nanda.
Oh, yeah. I love Yolanda.
You see, you forgot you did it even. There's so much art around this person. Yolanda Nanda.
Oh my God, what a blessing. Okay, so over the past, I would say 5 years, I've developed my morning spiritual practice as singing mantras. So what I've been doing is singing traditional, Sanskrit mantras and learning what they mean. And they are so powerful to me, So it's a part of my everyday practice now. And I wanted to record an album that featured the mantras, but also featured an interfaith aspect to them, So I'll usually, what happens in the recordings is that I'll sing the mantra and then I'll sing my English translation sort of the mantra, my take on it. And then sometimes even intertwine it with poetry by Rumi and different,
Wow.
stuff like that. So I'm very proud of that project. I recorded it right in the smack dab of the COVID pandemic. In 2020. That was my 2020 project. And I was so proud of it,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It really helped ground me and keep me grounded. So if you're looking for something that is inspiring but also grounding, check it out. It got really great reviews. I was so pleased to be featured in a magazine called Rock at Night that just absolutely loved that CD and sent it to a reviewer in India who was, well versed in Sanskrit mantra. In fact, that was his practice, and he praised it. He said he had never heard anything like it, and that it was really, really authentic. So I'm really proud of that CD. Yeah.
Well, and the fact that you were translating Sanskrit, how did you have somebody help you do that? Someone that was well versed in it? It's very difficult.
It is, but really just Googling and talking. I have a friend, his name is Nirmal Chandraratna, and he is Indian, and he also he chants, and so he helped me a lot with that, understanding what different mantras mean. Like what happens for me is that I'm attracted by the sounds of the words. This is how I write music anyway. So I'm attracted by a phrase, angels struggling to be human, and that I keep repeating the phrase over and over, and then there's a melodic aspect to that, right? For me, and then that's how I create a melody. So with mantras, the words, the actual Sanskrit words themselves are melodic. They're just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And once you learn to pronounce them correctly, it just takes you somewhere, So for me and many mantra artists, reinterpret the mantras with their own melodies. And so that's what I've done. I mean, these are ancient mantras that are well known. Most of them that I recorded are what are in the Aquarian, what's called the Aquarian Sadhana, which is a more relatively newer set of mantras, but they all contain, the power and the presence of ancient teachings, so they're
that's what's so beautiful. And again, that you're taking something so personal and so meaningful, something that really resonates with you, and sharing it with the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so authentic, because you're sharing your love and your soul. Like what I don't know if that makes sense, but it's what means something to you and resonates with you, that you're sharing it with others so that they can feel the same. That's a beautiful thing.
And also the fact that it's being translated,
Yeah.
and a poetic component with it, so that you're making the effort to communicate to people. Often, we could have a million discussions about Kundalini and Sanskrit, and I've spent time in India. It's complex. It's absolutely complex.
It
So you're
is.
taking something, and it's you having the desire to communicate to people, to get what you're feeling. And I think that is everything, really.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm glad you get that point, because I don't ever like to share, like I'm not a pop performer, you know what I mean? Like I don't follow trends or anything. I just try to share what's on my heart. And if it's not from my heart, I don't want to share it, you know?
That is,
So
Oh, isn't that well
that is
put?
the
Yeah.
signature of a true artist.
Very well.
you know, it's, you know, people have different paths. So when I said what I just said, I wasn't being disparaging about anybody's
Mhm.
musical path or anything. I'm just saying that if I don't feel it, then I don't want to share it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So that's kind of how it comes to me. And I think in these times, and I'm getting older, you know, like I just turned 65, so I'm claiming my witchy powers. You know, I'm claiming my crone. I'm in the crone phase. You know, the
As you
maiden.
should, as you
Yeah.
should,
Yeah, as I should. Yeah.
as you
So
should. What do you get from little children? What do you get when you do Drag Queen Story Hour?
Oh, yes.
oh my God, so
Well,
much
you were
love.
one of the originals.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, here in New York, I was absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
So the kids are everything to me. I mean, they've actually helped me understand myself. Do you realize that? I mean, I know you do because you guys are on the tip of everything, but I didn't realize until I started doing this in the libraries and the schools that kids are coming out early.
Right?
Yes, they
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
Yes. And it blows my mind. And we have supportive families, we have supportive parents, we have supportive schools. I had none of that when I was growing up. I had
Same here.
no clue, no
Same
role
here.
model, nothing.
We
You know,
didn't have the language, the labels, none of that.
nothing. We had no role models, nothing, nothing, nothing. And especially at school, you were taunted and harassed and bullied
Yeah.
and all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
And
I was called like faggot and all of this walking down the hallway.
Yeah.
Before I even knew what it meant.
Right.
exactly.
And then it was a surprise to find out that I actually was one.
Oh my God, I'm a faggot. They were right. They were right all along.
Exactly. That's what I experienced too. I was like, oh, okay, I am queer.
Yeah.
Because queer was the word that, you know.
Oh yeah, queer. That's true.
It's interesting with little children nowadays because I was in an event on Sunday, which was drag bingo to raise money
Oh, fun.
for an organization that the parents had in the town. The parents brought their little kids to the drag bingo. These are
Aw.
kids that are not
Mhm.
exposed to drag queens. It's out in Milford, Pennsylvania, not usually, but the parents are very cool. What
Yeah.
blew me away was the kids were, you know, in awe of the sparkly and how
Mhm.
they were called up on stage. They loved being there. There was no judgment. There was
Right.
just complete
Right.
connection to these two very tall people that, you know, bigger than life with beautiful
Right.
hair and beautiful sequins on. It was so pure. And
Yes.
I had never experienced small children as they related to drag queens. My own daughter doesn't count because she grew up with them. But no, I'm talking about like in the world where people are
Right,
not
right.
interacting that way. I thought, how cool. So
It is.
when you were reading to them, what kinds of feedback did you get?
Well, I just get excitement, really. Like, you know, I share my gender identity with them, and I say, "Do anybody have any questions?" And kids go, "My mom's a drag queen," or you know, or you know, some other thing. My sister's whatever friend is a trans girl. You know, like it's just so enlightening. Like the way kids respond, at least here in New York, you know.
Mhm.
And over the country, because I have been around the country since we started doing it and sharing story time with kids in other parts of the country, like Omaha, and I even went to Tennessee and Georgia. We did something in Georgia. So I've been all North Carolina, like really all over. Kids are beginning to respond, and I think I have to owe a lot of that really to RuPaul's Drag Race, because
Yeah, totally.
agree.
Yeah, give it up for RuPaul. I agree.
absolutely, I am always grateful, always, 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 because it opens the door. Even though I don't call myself a drag queen, I call myself a trans femme genderqueer person who does drag. I know that's a mouthful, but it's opened up doors for all of us to talk about gender identity.
Totally.
Right.
So
And,
I'm really grateful
and
to him.
also pave the way for overall tolerance,
Yeah.
acceptance,
Mhm.
and appreciation.
Yeah.
Because I got to thinking, like, if I did not have that, like you, I did not have that support. I did not have, I'm sorry, we've got this banging going on here.
Didn't have that kind of support growing up.
Well,
at
I
all.
didn't have any, again, we didn't have the names, we didn't have the labels, we didn't have any of that. And I remember one time when I was little thinking, I wish I didn't have my penis. I wish I was a girl.
Yeah.
And because I wanted the other boys to look at me the way they looked at my female cousin.
Right.
I
wow.
wanted to be a girl, but during that time, that was not even in anyone's consciousness. That
Right.
just wasn't done. It wasn't allowed. It
Yeah.
wasn't. And today, I'm wondering if I grew up today, what my path might have been.
That's interesting. That's a great question. You know, I ran a transgender support group for a long time, actually. And there was so much that I learned from that group, so many different ways of expressing. And sometimes people try a certain path and it doesn't work for them. And then they go back and they find their own unique way, you know. So there's no telling, had you had that
Yeah.
support, there's no telling, you know. And that's what, Wendy, to specifically address your question, and that's what I get from Drag Queen Story Hour, is a wonderful generation of children being raised by parents who
Right.
really care, you know,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
really, really care. And that's happening all over the country and all over the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
I truly
There's
believe we are in a consciousness shift in human evolution.
just what I
Yeah,
was
we
going to
were gonna
say.
say
There's
that.
a rise of
Jim's
consciousness.
mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're right. I love that.
Yeah.
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 I
This
really-
area I was in is Milford, Pennsylvania is rural. And
Yeah.
yet you had the parents brought the kids to the drag bingo and had a great time and laughed. Some of the jokes were off color. The two drag queens were my friends running it. They really were off color, but you know what? Everyone was cool. And
Yeah.
that's what it's about. We're
Mhm.
talking about acceptance. What
Yeah.
you described, Tim, you were isolated and made
Mhm.
to feel
Yeah.
very much alone. And how
And I always felt I just have to learn how to live in this body. There's nothing I
Right.
can do about it.
right.
Right.
And I completely pushed that out of my mind. But
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger that I quite possibly would have been trans.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Discovery.
Mhm. And it
Wow.
occurred to me in some discussions that I've been having recently. I was
Oh my
like,
God.
wow, that's
That's
it would,
really
I mean,
enlightening.
it could have
Right.
changed my
Different
entire
trajectory,
trajectory
yeah.
of my life.
Oh my God, that's so exciting. Well, we'll have a private conversation about that.
Okay.
That's definitely a part two.
Oh, honey,
That's a part
I'll have private conversations with you anytime. I absolutely love and adore our guest here on If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts, Wendy Stuart and Tym
Maybe
Moss,
that's
our
me.
incredible guest who's just so incredibly inspiring, Reverend Yolanda.
Thank you.
So on top of everything else that you've done, you did a book called Queero.
Yes.
Yeah, and I want details on that. You partnered with Ben Wu, who's a longtime friend of yours.
Ben Wu is an amazing radical fairy artist who has also done drawings for the new EP that I'm releasing on October 19th, which you will die for. They are just gorgeous. And his drawings in general are amazing. He's like a sort of a storybook artist, you know? And so Queero is a story about a friend that I grew up with, a young lady who was basically the one that really stood up for me, you know, as I was growing up, you know. I had a couple of those friends, but she was the outstanding one. So as I said before, like my parents didn't understand me, my brother didn't understand me. So a lot of times I had to leave the house just because I was just so confused and upset. And Queero lived up the street from me. So Queero and her parents were amazingly open-minded, certainly for Alabama in the 60s. And they took me in and helped me understand that there was nothing wrong with me and all of that kind of stuff. And so Queero always said that she was a witch. And I said, okay, I'm a witch too. And so we started what we call the Witch Club. And
Love it.
we always chanted that, passage from Shakespeare, double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron
I
bubble.
love this.
Yeah.
And so I wrote a song about Queero, and we lost touch for many years, and then once again we connected, on Facebook like I did with my other friend, and we've been really great friends ever since. She is a witch. She's an incredible activist in our hometown for gay rights, women's rights, and racial diversity. She was on the tip of a movement in town to remove the Confederate statue, in front of the city hall and all of that. So she's quite a powerful person. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing that her path is the path that she was on and stayed on from when she was a little kid.
Yeah. She if anybody says they're a witch, like Queero, you know what I mean? Like I totally believe her. She is so powerful. I've never
Powerful witch
experienced that, I think, in many people. She's an incredibly powerful woman, who just really spreads love and joy everywhere she goes, and I'm grateful that I had her growing up.
The more you talk, the more it seems like anything you needed was sent to you.
Yeah.
Your path in your life has come the full circle.
Yeah.
And I believe it's because of what you put out there in the universe. It's huge.
Well, again, how I see it is you've always searched.
Yeah.
You've always searched, and you've always been very courageous at going, what is this over here? I want to learn about this. What is that over there? Let me learn about that. What is this? And you've accumulated all of these amazing philosophical understandings, and you've brought them all together to form Yolanda. You've applied all of that to create your own being, which I love.
Which is the person we see before us.
I wish everybody would do that.
But I think some people don't have a choice. Like that curiosity within you, where does that come from? Because that has just been there from the time you came out of the womb. Where does that come from?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I think that, so how I think about it is everyone has a journey that they want to be on, that they've sort of, for lack of a better word, decided that they would be on, before they entered this life, right? So we're a part of the whole, which is a spiritual essence that is God or whatever you want to call it, and we choose, in my way of looking at it, to come into this human existence to experience certain things, for the growth of our own soul and just for the experience of it, and sometimes those experiences are good and sometimes they're bad, and sometimes we judge them and sometimes we don't, but they're all necessary. All of the experiences are necessary to the whole, and I don't understand it all, and none of us do. However, your experience in life is just as important as anyone else's, regardless of their fame or their status or their wealth or their this or their that. Everyone has an important and necessary contribution to the whole. So with my own curiosity, I think that's just what I wanted to do when I came into this life, because literally, like you say, I popped out of the womb going la la la. I'm an artist. And I do have a very, very early memory, and this sounds so corny, but it is a memory of being in my crib, like standing up in the crib kind of thing, and looking out the window, and this yellow bird like coming and sitting on the windowsill. And for me, that was just like, oh, that's showing me that I'm supposed to be here, and that,
that realization.
Yeah, it was just some kind of realization, and I was in the crib, like, and I remember that, so there has been this ongoing curiosity about life, from since then. I've mostly explored it through my artwork and my gender identity, which I call both of those, like the combination, my spiritual path.
It is the spiritual
Yeah,
path,
absolutely.
all of it.
Absolutely. Well, once again, you're watching If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts, Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss, and our incredible guest, the one and only Reverend Yolanda. Yay! Now, once again, you can find out everything about Reverend Yolanda at her website, which is yolanda.net.
Yep.
And tell us once again about October 19th, the name of the show, the full name of the show, and
here we go.
What's going to happen.
Okay, hold on to your hats. Here's the full name of the show. It is called The Church of the Alien Love Child Presents The Passion of Reverend Yolanda. And so what it's about is you are entering a church service, the Church of the Alien Love Child. And the cast is the choir of the church. And I come on stage as the leader of the church. And you're in the church on a very special day, which is the annual celebration of my passion story, you know. So so what the play does is it gives us an autobiographical journey through all of these incarnations that I've been talking about, you know.
So many.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing on October 19th is we're releasing an EP with 5 songs with the libretto in it to give you a real close-up and personal feeling of what this experience is like. And what we want to do is, we've had one live performance of the entire show. Tym was in that. He's been with us from the very beginning.
Yeah,
we had that in 2018 at Brick Theater Arts in Brooklyn. And what we're doing is we're refining how the music fits in with the libretto. So that's why we're doing a concert album. And it is really enlightening. It really is helping everything gel. And I think when you listen to it, you'll really get the sense of how the libretto and the story and the music go together. You know? So that's what we're doing, and we're premiering that on October 19th, and you can see it at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook/Rev Yolanda, REV Yolanda, or YouTube /Rev Yolanda. So, and all of that is at my website if you want.
Are there plans for a live version after you've honed the music and everything for 2022?
Well, I think it will probably be 2023, just because of certain things that are brewing that I can't talk about.
Mm-hmm. Well, can you mention like Paul and Scott and everybody?
Yeah, we have a lot. We kind of have a lot going on. You know, Justin Taylor is the librettist who wrote the script, and Sean Pecknick is the director.
Sean, I'm sorry. Sean.
And
and with an S.
yeah, and we have we have interest that's coming in from different places, you know, about producing it, but the financials, everything's not worked out yet, you know what I mean? Right. So
always
all of that. Yeah, there's a lot of variables to this, you know, knock them off one at a time.
Yeah, so in the meantime, we're gonna finish the concept album. We're gonna do the whole score, and we'll be calling on you again, Tym. And
I'm there.
And that's the goal for 2022, because we really want to get that relationship down. The music is incredibly important, and I've been writing this music all along, you know, so it's taken from my discography, if you will, you know, and it's being adapted for the stage. So it's really important to get the sense of how the music and the story relate together, you know. So it looks like the live version will be 2023, but stay tuned.
Absolutely. And I am so honored to have been a part of the evolution, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So I'll be with you. Anything you need from me, honey, I'm there.
All the way. And and on October 19th, you will not believe the video. Tym, I can't wait for you to see it. The video for Pernicious Homosexual, where Tym plays.
Wait, what is it called? Pernicious Homosexual?
That's the story about Show and Tell bringing the Time magazine. There were 2 words. One was pernicious, which means evil, and homosexual. And I play the teacher who loses her mind.
Oh, I can't think of better casting, really. That's hilarious.
It's hilarious. He's so absolutely perfect in this role.
Wow.
And Tym has played other roles in our story too. He played a channeler that I used to know in the
Oh, yeah.
1980s
Love it.
who channeled Marilyn Monroe. And I mean, it's just hilarious. Tim is hilarious, you know.
Tim
and-
is, no, I totally agree. Tim's hilarious, and these are really great characters for
Yeah.
you. They're perfect.
And I also played a Leatherman. And
Yes, you played the Leatherman.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Teacher at show and tell to the Leatherman. It's whole 9 yards.
He's quite versatile, our friend.
I would have to totally
In more
agree
ways
with you.
than one.
In more ways than
All right, but we're not selling here on the show today, are we? No, we're not.
Well,
So I have a personal question for you.
Okay.
How do you keep your hair so gorgeous? It's long, it's flowing,
It's
you're constantly running
fabulous.
your hands through it. I'm like, the hair. What do you use on your hair?
I use castor oil.
You're kidding.
No, isn't that weird? But I read about castor oil. I love oils of different types, and I read about
I love
castor oil,
oil.
and it's great for your hair and skin. I remove my makeup with castor oil. I run it through my hair, and you know, when I wash my hair, you know, it has castor oil in it, so it has had time to set and, you know, revive my hair and all of
You're
that.
like in a state of castor oil at all times.
Yes. And it's good for you.
No, I know it totally is. Well, I'm going to steal that little tip from you. I'm loving it. You know, you don't look like you have a bad hair day.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I'm a little shy sometimes about wearing my own hair because this has been 2 years of COVID growth, you know, and I kind of didn't know what to do with it. So I'm actually premiering really my natural hair on your show.
Well,
you know?
it's perfect. We love it.
I've only
We
ever
love it.
seen you from the time I met you, I think was at Patrick and Tony's wedding.
Right.
That was
Right.
the first time, and I've only ever seen you with hair pieces on. So when you showed up
Yeah.
today, I'm like, that's a fierce hair piece. It looks like totally natural, you know, and it's got incredible movement and everything too. And I'm like, oh, that's real hair.
I know.
was going to ask you where on Amazon you ordered it.
Well, you know, I love my wigs. I have so many wigs and I love them. However, when, you know, Glenn was like, why don't you grow your hair? Glenn loves my long hair. And so Glenn's my husband, for y'all that don't know.
Oh,
But,
yes.
anyway.
Reverend Yolanda, we love that.
But he was like, why don't you grow your hair out? And so I did. And I just kept growing it. And I'm like, oh my God, I love it. You know?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Woo!
Really beautiful.
But always look at all of us hair queens over here. Y'all both got beautiful hair. Look at that.
Oh, working our
Yeah.
hair.
I know, exactly. I know. I wish I had
Realness.
exactly. So thank you so much. Y'all are so sweet to me and I really appreciate it. You know.
Well,
Love having
thank
you
you. You're
today,
very
yeah.
sweet to this world, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
So,
And you know we're live streaming from Pangea. Love to see you put up one of your productions.
oh yeah,
Here,
at Pangea.
We
Oh, yeah.
support Pangea. They have now a full roster of performances
Yeah,
here. You
they're
can go to
back.
their website, www.pangeanyc.com. And
Perfect.
it's unbelievable to watch how the calendar here has exploded. We're
Mhm.
so happy for them. Lots of our friends are performing here. Tammy Faye, who I'm sure you know will be on this show
Yes.
this week, but she's doing an ongoing show here called Tamar. So
Awesome.
it's such a great place. We just totally love them. We all have to support each other.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I really do want to do a show at Pangea. Ever since I've started seeing people perform over there, it's like, oh wow, this is a great place. You know, yeah. So
Yeah.
when you know, I haven't made it back out to the clubs yet. I'm being extra super careful about all of that and everything. I am HIV positive. I'm fine. You know, there's nothing.
Right.
Yeah, but no, you got, you
No, but you
really
have
do.
to be
Yeah, you gotta
concerned,
be
yeah.
concerned and you gotta
Yeah.
be careful. The clubs, which we've both been in, one night, one particular club was packed. They looked
Right.
at your vaccination cards, but people were on top of each other.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah, it was
right.
a
If you
little-
have, yeah, it's a little, I'm tending to try like not to put myself in those situations now because well, you know of too many people that have had the COVID variant breakthrough. It's
Exactly.
happening for real. So nobody should say immune to
Yeah,
this or what we
absolutely.
hear. Oh, but I have my 2 vaccines.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
gotta be careful. You got nice fresh air there in Vermont, Yolanda.
Yes.
Look at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Living the good life you are.
Well, thank you so
Thank you
very
so
much for tuning
much.
in, and again, bringing us such beauty, both in
Always.
scenery behind you, as well as that beautiful spirit and
Yeah, it comes
beautiful
right
face
through.
and beautiful laughter. Everything about you is beautiful.
Everything is beautiful.
In its own way. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Reverend
Absolutely.
Yolanda, thank you
Thank
so very
you.
much. We so appreciate this
Thank-
and love you
Thank
dearly.
you, audience, today, and for everyone who's been
Yes.
texting me throughout the show. We can't find the show. Where is it?
Yeah,
We're gonna get it to you tomorrow.
exactly.
Yeah.
The best things in life are worth waiting for.
And this is one of those.
Yay.
Thank you, Reverend Yolanda.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Bye. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.